My maternal grandmother loved lighthouses and had a huge collection of miniature lighthouses in her living room. From a tiny lighthouse manufactured by Precious Moments, which sat on a shelf, to a larger model that one of my uncles built for her. It even had a rotating mirror inside to replicate the operations of a lighthouse. She also had a photo album of the various lighthouses she visited in various states like Ohio, North Carolina, and Florida. One summer, she and my grandfather visited various lighthouses along the western and northern coastlines of Michigan, including the UP. Though I'm sure she didn't visit all 129 lighthouses that are in Michigan, I suspect it was very, very close. Discussing her various lighthouses with her, she said she likes the simplicity of lighthouse and what it offers. During the day, it is a silent silhouette standing firmly against the winds and being warmed by the sun. A silent guardian, marking the transition from land to water. At night, though mostly silent, it would come to life to mark the hidden danger of rocks or shallow waters or known areas of treacherous waves. The lighthouse would cast its light out onto the water, which offered sailors a symbol of hope against all odds, and provided hope to those on shore as they looked out on the darkened sea waters watching for their loved ones. That was the plot of the 1977 film Pete's Dragon. The lighthouse served as a symbol of hope for Nora, played by Helen Reddy, who watched the seas for her fiancé, Paul, to return home. Specifically written for the film and was intended to be the only song to appear in the film, Helen sings Candle on the Water. This song, filled with hope and religious symbols, is Helen's song of hope and faith that Paul would return. At the end of the film, against all odds, Paul arrives home after being aided by the lighthouse flame, a beacon proclaiming he's home. Though that lighthouse in the film is fictional, in New York there is a realistic and famous beacon of hope and promise of new life, the Statue of Liberty. Her lit torch once announced to passenger ships that they had arrived safely in New York. Her shining light also offered navigational aid for ships entering the New York harbor, and her beacon declared to immigrants that this was a land of promise. Her light, like other lighthouses, are lights shining in the darkness which provide hope, security, and new life. A light which Jesus also provided. In the Gospel of John, Jesus described himself as a light for the world, saying, "And whoever follows him will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." In a way, Jesus described himself as a lighthouse, always shining for our lives to give us guidance, to assure us that he is always with us and always standing firm, even when our lives are in the midst of a storm. Jesus remains standing and shining. He remains solid for us. Utilizing this ministry metaphor of Jesus being like a lighthouse, songwriter Ronnie Hinson wrote the following lyrics, which have been recorded by the Oak Ridge Boys, the Gaithers, and many, many others. The lyrics, "There's a lighthouse on the hillside that overlooks life's sea. When I'm tossed, it sends out a light that I might see. And that light that shines in darkness now will safely lead me home. If it wasn't for the lighthouse, my ship would sail no more." Whether sailing on life's seas or on actual seas, we need Jesus, who is the light of the world, and we need him in our life. We need his guidance and assurance that we remain under his protection. Meanwhile, we also need to be light for others, to provide safety and understanding, to provide a safe haven for those who are in need of rest away from the storms. As Jesus' representatives, we are given the ability to be beacons of hope for those seeking a port in the storm. And we do this by imitating Christ when he sat with broken people. Reviewing Jesus' actions when he sat with people, He listened to their stories. He provided them with a meal. He was patient and he was kind with people. Sometimes he would walk alongside them and remained with them through their hurt, even bearing their burdens for them, both for persons who admired Jesus for what he offered and even to those who resisted his love. He remained a beacon of hope, which can be unnerving, especially when we attempt to be a light of hope, and that hope can go in unexpected directions. This was a situation that Wendy Kiyomi said she found herself in. She says that she and her husband had always heard the stories that we ought to be hospitable people and provide hope to others. One way they chose to do this was by opening their home to guests. And it went well because it was mostly friends and family. She says it went great. But she confesses, these were friends and family, not the disabled and injured, nor guests who might not be safe. Though she didn't expect that last one, guests who might not be safe. But as she trembled in her home, that was exactly what had happened. She and her husband said that they wanted to open their home to disabled or injured foster kids. And a lot of the kids they provided housing for, it went great. She said she had a lot of awesome kids that she and her husband fostered. Then there was this one child who brought so much pain with them into the house that they punched walls, screamed obscenities, and generally made everyone in the house feel unsafe. But she says she didn't give up on that child. She recalled that expressing hospitality looks for the possibility of entertaining angels, and this should both be comforting as well as uncomfortable. After all, biblical visits from angels are rarely serene events. Angels bring difficult news, uncomfortable and disorienting disclosures, and challenging directives. Realizing that this was the issue they faced with their child's difficult behavior, they grew into loving the child from the hard place of their own trauma, which they brought with them. She confesses that she was hoping they would one day reach a plateau of calmness, that the trauma would just heal and disappear. But she offers her epiphany that that was not going to be the case. And when we look at Jesus' life, we realize that the world is filled with pain, and still, Jesus didn't call his followers away from the pain, but toward it. He provided his followers with courage to face the world's pain and tools so we can be involved with people in a dangerous world. Jesus equips us to be lights in a world of darkness, lights of hope, lights of courage, lights of blessing, so we don't lose ourselves in the darkness which surrounds us and presses in on us. Jesus also provided an example that we don't run away from pain and suffering as he stood firm in the face of pain, humiliation, and even death. In sharing our success and struggle with fostering this one child out of many children, Wendy offers the following insight about the potential Christian hospitality journey, which took a long time for her to process and understanding. She writes, "The very experiences that are the most painful are the ones that gave me the most personal encounter with Christ's love for the world. This is often not the blessing I want. Sacrificial love sounds beautiful, but it is not nice. Sacrificial love is an emptying process. It strips us of things we hold dear, even our agency, our very ability to influence events or control our environment. Somehow, though, this love is the means to experiencing the devastating beauty of the love of Christ." As she says, the devastating beauty of Jesus' love is that he loves us even from our broken states. Even when our lives become challenging, or there are some who make life challenging for others, he constantly provides a light to guide people to something better. And that light might be you and me. We might be the only light that people see. We might be the only ones equipped to remove their pain and trauma. Therefore, it's important to recall that we must be gentle with each other. A lesson I confess I sometimes neglect to do, but thankfully there is grace and patience so we can polish off our mirrors, so to speak, and we can shine more brightly to offer a safe haven to all who hurt or are seeking a safe place. Therefore, with Christ, let us keep shining like a candle on the sea of life, a candle on the water.